John Burns, the Sitka Technology Group. Pleased to be with my colleague Emma Dixon, who will be giving you a demo of the tool itself, actually a live demo on the web. Really appreciate the opportunity to come to Whitefish and participate in this conference with the folks from all the different states who are represented here. Had a great opportunity to talk to some of you and looking forward to some continued conversation if you have more questions after our presentation and demo today. Just real quick about Sitka Technology Group. We're based out of Portland, Oregon, been around since 2008, and we really specialize in working with natural resource management agencies like DNRC. Got our start working with the Bonneville Power Administration in Columbia River Basin, and have a number of state, federal, and local clients, so it was a real natural fit for us to start working with DNRC on the truss line system. We focus on delivering three types of values: operational efficiencies, helping you do your job in a way that takes less of overhead, getting to this notion of rolling up data into intelligence, getting performance measures, and providing decision support opportunities rather than just having data that gets your reporting goals done, but actually can inform organizational decision making. Some of the clients we've worked with: DNRC, State of Idaho, State of Oregon, Washington, DNR, kind of similar agencies to you folks represent here. Wanted to just talk about the bridge between the pre-work that Dan described, where DNRC was realizing that it was time to replace TLMS 1.0 and evaluate some new opportunities for new systems, to where we are today, where we're underway building a new custom solution. It wasn't predetermined up front that a custom from the ground up solution would be right for DNRC. There were some opportunities to evaluate off-the-shelf systems, integrations with Salesforce or similar platforms, or other ERP type platforms. The WSLCA IT white paper that Dan referenced did a really good job of laying out that decision-making process and looking at the options of go custom, go with an integration, leverage something that already exists. So there was a process that Sitka worked through with DNRC called a data analysis or data diagnostic, which involved getting the folks into the room, really inventorying the workflows that need to occur, prioritizing those workflows based on things that have to happen the way they're happening now, or some things that are just a legacy of the system that is in place and could be done differently. This included identifying the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, what's called a SWOT analysis. And this was a pretty intense 2 full-day activity that had Craig and Sean and Dan and other folks from DNRC in the room, just working out what is it, taking a fresh look at what we want to manage in terms of business workflows in an IT system. That data analysis resulted in setting the goals, objectives, and strategies for the replacement of TLMS 1.0, really focusing on maximizing the long-term revenue for the trust, obviously being the top goal of the trust lands. Better engaging with Montana citizens, perhaps providing public portals to see and understand how these lands are being managed and how this revenue is being generated, and then improving efficiencies, looking for ways to work smarter. So these goals can be met through a comprehensive vision of the trust lands management system, and then there was a set of strategies, and I'll work through each of these that resulted in the recommendation to build this custom system. So understanding the people, I think there was 55 different users who were identified, which were broken down into a subtype of what we call personas, kind of an abstraction of the folks who are in their offices doing their jobs. The folks who are managing the agreements, the business user specialists, folks working in the field, the bureau chiefs like Dan and his counterparts in minerals and ag and real estate, the finance side. And then looking at each of these personas has goals that they want to realize in the system. And as we're building and implementing, we're always thinking back to who are the people who will be using this. So each of these personas were then mapped to an individual, and these individuals were able to rank their tasks in terms of how critical it is to their business. And this was going to hone where we were going to invest our resources in building these IT systems. After the tasks were prioritized as kind of high-level, big-picture tasks, the specific individual workflows were inventoried for all of these 55 users. And for each workflow, how many steps need to occur, how many pieces of output are being produced for an annual report, a finance report, or a a contract that must be signed by a user of the lands. And then they were ranked in terms of complexity. So this really let us understand the scope and scale of the system and where we would need to invest. From the workflows, we were able to produce high-level data models, just looking at the elements of the system that needed to be built, what are the data tables, and how do they relate to each other. And then with all of those facts documented and understood, it was time to look at some alternatives. And this is, again, consistent with the WSLCA's IT recommendation paper from 2017, looking at the status quo. Do we continue to rely on the TLMS 1.0 application? Do we look at certain COTS, commercial off-the-shelf solutions? Go with a full custom approach, or what we call a hybrid approach, which relies on a bridge between the TLMS 1.0 and the TLMS 2.0, rather than getting it all done in a year, as Dan said, is one of the alternatives. It would have been a pretty intense process for everybody. So we settled on this hybrid approach of building a custom solution, but doing it over a multiple year phase period. That kind of gets to the title of this panel, which is replacing the data management highway while keeping the users moving. By going with this hybrid approach, the DNRC is continuing to use the TLMS 1.0 application, and will continue to do so for smaller and smaller pieces until we're done with the fourth phase of the project. So we're needing to find ways to migrate users from one platform to another, minimizing the amount of pain of straddling systems and keeping the data in sync between the two systems. We felt that that was a reasonable approach to get this done incrementally, but also advance the state of the system and ultimately retire the TLMS 1.0, which is a valuable system that is approaching these useful items. So after we'd done that analysis and came up with the recommendation, it was time to get building. So Emma's going to come up and give you a live demo. We've got some limited internet connectivity here, so if there's any technical hurdles, and again, we'll power through those. We've got some tabs to do that. But we're really pleased to be able to show you this application, the kind of slick, modern web interface. And as Emma does this demo, I'd like folks to keep in mind, DNRC has expressed a willingness to make this piece of technology available to other states, other trust lands to use, and we really see that at Sitka as kind of a key value in these types of systems. These are not unique to the state of Montana, and public investment in these types of platforms does not need to be redundant and repeated. So if there are interest in what you see today, and this could be applicable to your trust lands, I encourage you to talk to Dan or Cray about opportunities to kind of co-license these platforms. And this becomes a pretty neat opportunity for mutual benefit, where if another state were to take on something like this, the investment that that state would make could flow back to Montana and kind of become a co-benefit scenario. And that's kind of Sitka's model in this, is looking to really share the technologies as much as possible rather than having to repeat investments.